Y'all ready? Cool. So I'm sorry, y'all. I'm rude. I didn't introduce myself. I know most of y'all know me because y'all here, but I always like to formally introduce myself. My name is Neoshi Green Cabro. I'm a clinical and transpersonal hypnotherapist. I've been doing this work for over 6 years now. And I've been blessed to help thousands of women and a few brave men who are on their journey to heal their soul, break through blockages, and align with their divine purpose. I work with everyone all over the world, every walk of life, every day, what you would consider the everyday, quote unquote person to what you would consider celebrities, people you watch on your TV every day, probably, in sports, music, entertainment. You can go into all of that, but just know I work with everybody all over the world, and damn near, yeah, every continent. Just the lighting, if it's too bright for you, I recommend you lay down, not sit up, but whatever's most comfortable for you. Um, and if you have glasses on, take those off. You won't need those. We're not using those eyes. Get comfortable. All right. You also don't need sleeping mask, so if you have that, take it off too. Won't be sleeping.
That's it. Very good. In a moment, I'll count from 5 to 1, beginning the process of entering deep hypnosis. I want you to go to the very last day in that life as that person, very last day in that lifetime, to notice how that body dies. I'll begin helping you come out of this hypnotic state, wide awake back to your full waking consciousness. So I'm going to give you guys some time, if you manage to jot down your experience. I know it's a lot. Now, for those of you who might have struggled and you're not sure what you experienced or what happened, stick around as y'all continue to jot it down. If there's anyone, if you remember what you experienced and you want to share, I want to hear from you first. All right.
Can I go first?
Sure, go ahead.
Hi. What I seen was I was a little girl, and the outfit. It was the outfit that was most important. I had on a blue jean skirt and a white blouse, and I was with more little girls. Like we were in school. And then another part that I seen from that life was that, like, I don't think my parents were alive. I think they died. And I was with my grandfather, and we were in a white truck, and it was like it had to be like a old type of truck because it was like where the truck has like the whole front row is like connected. I think like it's not two separate seats. It's like just one. I don't know how to explain it. It's just you can sit in the middle of two people because the whole row is connected in the truck, if that makes sense. And there was like, I remember the grass was tall. So I feel like I was probably somewhere in the South. I don't exactly know where. I feel like it was Texas, but I don't know. And then in the second one, I was a man. And it looks like I was in the military, but I think I was in the Navy. And I think the boat exploded because I think a helicopter hit it from what I seen.
The most vivid life that I remember and the one that felt the most visceral was I wrote down like 15 or 16. And I remember I had a really pretty like yellow dress on. And my outfit was very like, it looked very clean for where I lived. Like, cause I was walking down like off of a bridge, but then on a dirt road towards like a house, like almost like in the country. It looks like maybe like 1930s. And I just remember feeling like I shouldn't be here. Like this is not where I'm supposed to be. And then it became night when you asked like another significant time, then it became night. And I was on the porch and I just kept looking at the moon and I kept saying, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. And then like a flash happened and it felt like I walked into like a shed or something and somebody came behind me. And then the next minute I just felt angry. And I kept saying like, he killed me. Like I was not supposed to die here. And I just started crying because I was like, her name was, Shelly, Sheila or Shelly. And it felt like I had been killed because the man who killed me loved me and didn't want me to leave. And I was so angry. And I was just like, this feels like overwhelming. And my body felt like it was swelling a little bit. And I was trying to ask, like, did you drown? And then when you ask, like, how did you die? All I could see was him on top of me, like choking me. And I just was like around me, just like trying to smell the flowers. And then I was so mad. And I was just like, I didn't want to die here. I was not supposed to be here. And then that's all I could remember. And then the next life after that, I think I was maybe a shapeshifter because I couldn't stay in one particular place and I kept changing forms. At one point, I was a little boy. Then I was like a rock giant. Then I was like a fish. Then I was like an old shaman woman.
I don't really know what was going on. Because I had bits and pieces going on, but I was in darkness, like floating for a long time. I think the first lifetime I was floating in darkness, and all I could just see was just patterns, like just shapes, and I was just looking at them. I was just looking at the shapes. When all of a sudden I swooped down to a place I was like I could just only see a person in front of me. I couldn't even see myself, and even in that, it's almost like I'm just peering down versus me being there. Like I couldn't feel like myself. I could only see. So I could just look, and even though I'm looking, it's like darkness on both sides of me, and I'm looking down into like I'm looking down into a dream or looking down into whatever it is. But I'm not even thinking I'm looking at myself. It's almost if I'm somewhere else that makes sense. But I just see hands. I just see somebody hand reaches up at me, and I got their hands, and it's first like a little girl, and she's just going on, but yet it's still black around me. And then all of a sudden, I just draw back into the darkness again, and I'm over here, and now I know me. I know it's me because like this time I feel it's me, but again I'm in darkness. But this time I'm a little white. I'm a teenage white boy, and I'm standing by a light pole, and this dark skin, I'm assuming the dark skin guy, he looks like a tall black man, but and I was standing by the light pole with my feet kicked up, and he was like, "What you doing out here?" And I was like, "I'm chilling." Something just draw me, pull me right back out of it again, and again I'm back in blackness.
The first one was it started off young. Zambia came into my head immediately. I started off as a young girl. I remember feeling sad, kind of. It reflected to me that I missed my father. Like I felt like I really missed my father, and I guess I lost him. I don't know if it was hunting or something. But this was like it was a while ago, like maybe 1600s or something like that. And I remember feeling like there was like a chief. It felt very tribal, and I kept feeling like it was like a chief who kind of picked up where my father wasn't and led me into a life of sound healing or something. But as I got older, it became like normal for me to like sing, or it more felt like shouting, or just kind of, I don't know how to explain that. With the tribe, we spent a lot of time near fire. I don't know if it was like bonfires or what it was, being under the chief most of the time. And then I do remember when you said go to when we're dying, and I remember feeling like I could, like I was really sad, like I could hear my daughters crying. So I think at some point I got married and had kids, and just feeling really sad, like my eyes started to tear, like I could hear someone crying for me, and I didn't want them to cry anymore. And then my second life, I feel like I was in America. I was a young girl and I was being violated in some type of way, and my mother being very upset about it. But I was like a child. It was like she was a slave maybe, and I was just one of her children. I remember growing up and becoming like a house servant or something, but feeling very confident in myself, like old enough to be self-assured. I don't know how it happened, but I wasn't, after marriage, I wasn't a slave anymore. And it kind of seemed like a lot of people would come to my house and I would give them like herbal remedies or tonics or something.
It seems like mine was so rough. It was like when it first all started and you was like, just kind of let yourself go. And The first picture I saw was a cat. And it was so weird to me because I hate cats. And I'm like, why would I see a cat? You know, and there was this white cat. And it's like this cat was sitting off looking at this boat. And you was like, now you're going to go deeper and you're going to go further. And I'm like, I still was kind of focused on the cat. And I was trying to just take today's life out of it because I realized I was worried about how I feel about cats now, if that makes sense. And after I let that go a little bit, it was like I was on this boat and I was flowing through. Oh, it was so pretty. It was like the trees was like purple and green and red and all these colors. And I'm on the boat. And then you say y'all was going to go deeper. So I'm all inexperienced trying to figure out, where am I? Where am I? Where am I? And I get on this boat and I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to look around to gasp where I'm at. I never really came to a open conclusion of where I was because I felt alone a lot. I felt like, who left me on this boat? And then I started looking for that cat because I didn't know if I was supposed to take the cat with me, and I was just taking lifetimes and throwing them together. So then I started trying to find the cat to see if the cat's supposed to tell me where I'm going or what have you. Because once again, I felt all alone. I felt by myself. And I'm traveling down this river and I start seeing purple and yellow and blue and green. And I thought, why am I seeing these colors and stuff? And then when we go down to the river, I ended up feeling like I'm in Italy. I'm like, Italy? And it's like every scene I tried to resonate because my daughter in my current life always act like she's from Italy. She's only like 12 years old and she always, I'm from Italy. And she just put on this whole thing. And so while I was in that scene, I started thinking, oh my God, this girl does this in real life. And I'm all in Italy and I'm assuming I was a man because the person I was looking for was Laura. I was like, where's Laura? Why is Laura not with me? Where's Laura? And I kept looking around for Laura and I'm like, I don't even know who. I'm still trying to figure out who is Laura, but I kept looking for her and stuff. And then all of a sudden, I became this little boy. This little boy was being kidnapped. I don't know what he did. He kept trying to figure out what he did. They wouldn't tell him. They had this thing over his face. And I kept saying, why are y'all doing this? Why are y'all doing this? What did I do? So I think I was probably about 17. And I kept saying, if y'all have aught against me, tell me what it is so I can know why y'all doing this. And I felt like it was something maybe my family did or something because I was too young. And I knew in that moment that I hadn't done anything at that age, if that makes sense, for you to even feel like you have to kidnap me and take me off somewhere and they wouldn't tell me. And then you said, the scene was going to change and you was going to go. And that's when it seemed like every time you said the scene was going to change, I'm always was seeing blues and yellows and different color. It was so pretty, but I was too busy trying to understand what I was seeing, if that makes sense. So I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And then I would float somewhere else. I went to Mexico. I was in Mexico. I don't know what I did, but they told me that it was charges against me and that I was going to have to pay for those charges that was against me. I'm not sure if I think I was a guy because I kept getting mad and upset and you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. And I literally felt them burning my feet. I felt like they were setting my feet on fire. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Wait a minute. And I was trying to explain to them that it wasn't me and maybe they had the wrong person and maybe it was some type of misunderstanding, but I wasn't getting a clear story on why I was being punished. And then when you said, okay, now we're going to go into the future. In the future, I was an Indian. I'm like, I was an Indian. I was in this little shop and I'm working and I was, if I make sense of it, it was like a Reiki, because the word just popped right in. You a Reiki healer. And all these people was coming in the shop and I was saying how I was going to change the world because people don't have to experience what I did because it was so horrible. And I was sitting there trying to my mind said I was more of trying to heal people because of all the damage that was done to me in my life cycles. I went on to try to heal. And as you went in 20 and more years, it's like I started being like this Indian dancer, just so happy. I felt like at that point I was in my comfortable space. Oh, I'm so happy. Now I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm healing. I'm making sure everybody don't experience what I experienced. And then here I am. It was weird.
I just want to thank everyone for sharing because I wasn't going to share first because, like some of you expressed, it was darkness and loneliness for almost majority of the session. The first visual I remember seeing was me in like a cement room, dark and just like hunched over. And then I heard a voice like saying to a younger child, "You're not old enough yet." And then it shifted again to where I wasn't able to see me dying. Neoshi was asking, who was there. I was an older brown skinned woman in like a shed, but there were probably like 2 or 3 other people standing, dressed really, really old fashioned, standing next to me, but no one was in the bed. And so I'm really not sure what was going on in that scene, but it was supposed to be my last day, my last breath. Again, a lot of darkness. And then when we were told to go in the womb, that's when everything picked up. I instantly became overwhelmed. I started to feel everything I'm not sure if it was a mixture of me, of what I've been feeling all my life, or if it's what I've been feeling all my life has been my parents' pain. Like I kind of felt like the burden and I felt it all. And so I was crying during that period.
I was shifting throughout the whole thing. The first one was really difficult because it was like a white man and I was sexually assaulted and then I burned the house on fire and I shapeshift. And then on my third one, I shapeshifted again, but I was in a beach and there was some type of war going on, and there was evil in people's home, and I would shapeshift and go into people's home and clear out and do like prayers and like a shadow. You ever seen yourself sitting down and you look in the corner of your eyes, you feel something pass by? That's how I was. I would just sweep up all the evil in people's home and then go in the sea and throw it back in the sea. I don't know why I was going back in the sea, but that's what I was doing. And then again, I shapeshifted to this other country where they were having another war. And for punishment, they threw these 2 little boys in the middle of the sea. And so I don't know if I was a mermaid or what. So I shapeshifted and then saved the 2 little boys. But then I was getting punished and then I shapeshift again and I woke up.
Mine was pretty short for what I can remember. I begun, it was a lot of purple, just purple, purple, purple. And I saw some swamp water. Then I saw the beautiful ocean. Then I started seeing purple again, but I could hear, it was almost like it was a conversation being held if I was going to be able to see. Like, are we going to let her see? And I kept seeing just like the beautiful sky, the sun, clouds. Then they go back to the purple. Then again, I hear talking, like an argument between if I'm going to be able to see what I asked to see, what my intention. When you said set our intention. But and then I saw my current daughter now. It was like no one's here with me now. No one's at the house but me and Cashmere, my dog. But it was just like she was looking over at me and I was telling her something, and that's all I remember. But that was so weird. It was just like when I came to, I thought she was back home and she's not.
When we went to the first past life, I see myself as a woman. I believe I was in a tribe. I remember seeing tall grass, a lot of nature and mountains. The lady with the lady that was in the tribe, her hair was long. She was a little light skinned, and I remember seeing the little whatever they wear, the wardrobe, the little wrap. I saw that, and then it went to me being a waitress. Now this kind of threw me off a little bit because I was a little concerned at this part because when I seen the lady as a waitress, it was like in a back in the day era. I'm gonna say maybe a 70s because the type of hat she had on had the feather coming out and she had the gloves. And she went to drop some drinks off to this man at the table. And I remember after that, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if the man raped her or what, but she also was stabbed in the stomach. And I think that's where my 2 birthmarks came from on my stomach, because I have a birthmark on my stomach on the top part. And then I also went to another past life. I think I was a man, but I don't remember so much about this man. I remember standing on a porch. It was in the country, and I do remember seeing dirt roads. And then after that, I fell into a deep sleep. And then I remember me just being in darkness. And I was hearing you saying go into your mother's womb. I did that, but I was just in darkness. The one man that stood out the most to me. And that right there, I was like, I want to know more about that life because I have a birthmark on my stomach, 2 of them. And if she passed away from being stabbed, it makes sense of the birthmarks on my stomach.
You said pay attention to what's around you. What do you see? It was grass, like really nice grass. It was very fresh. I smelled the grass, and it was like I was running in the grass. And then you were like, look at your body, like, and then I was a golden retriever, and I was like, Comet, and I was like confused why I was the golden retriever. And then you were like, are there people around you? And I think the dog was at a dog park. I didn't see the people with the dog. And then we moved on to something else. There was another part where I was a woman, and she was like a flapper. She had on the shingles dress and the hair, and we progressed, and she got older and she had kids, and I saw my hand with my child's hand, and then I saw her older and passing, and all her family was around, and it was peaceful. She was happy.
When you were counting down, I was seeing a white owl. It kept just like looking at me, and then it would flash into I guess like colors, and the colors started to become like, I don't know, like Chinese fireworks, when they look like dragons, and then it looks like different types of, I guess, animals. But the white owl was clear, and it would just look at me as we were counting down. And by the time I got there into the first life, I was a 23-year-old Black woman, African American. My name was Shirley, and I don't know why I kept hearing between 1944, 1844. It may have even been before then, but it was something dealing with hoodoo. I remember going on a train track and picking up spikes and using them for something because it kept flashing in and out, in and out, in and out. I do remember I ended up having a baby because I could feel my womb like I don't know. You know how it feels when you have a baby. I have 5, so I know y'all have some children too, but it felt like something was in there. So I knew I had a baby. I don't know if it was a girl or a boy, because I kind of went out of it again. I remember helping people, healing people, making potions, doing different types of things when it comes to hoodoo. And when it first started, I was sitting there washing dishes for my husband and making lunch. I do remember him wearing a blue jumpsuit. I guess he was a mechanic or something like that. I don't remember him as being a spirit that I know now, but I do kind of remember his face. I remember going to the grocery store. I remember the cashier being kind of prejudiced. And that was kind of, I think it was kind of it for that, other than the fact that at night we would go into the woods and dance around in a circle of fire. I remember putting on all white. I remember seeing my spiritual sisters dancing around in a circle as well. I believe I died at the age of 84 then. And when I went to the second, I don't know if that was a future or if it was a past, Black woman again. I had long locks. They were switching from black to gray, black to gray. I don't know why that was happening. I don't know if I was going young, old, but I remember being in the clouds. I remember like a crystal ball or something. And I remember touching the forehead of people with two fingers, and it would be light, some sort of light sparkle that comes from it. And I don't know if it was healing or what.
Hello, everybody. I was reluctant on even sharing this, but I'm gonna step out of my comfort zone today. So I had 3 past lives, but one that stood out the most and was very detailed was my 3rd past life. I was a Caribbean 17-year-old girl. I was the middle child. I had 2 brothers, one older, one younger. I had a mother and a father. And I remember my brothers and I would go fishing, like deep diving fishing, just jumping off the boat. And one day, we had a really good day. We caught some fish, but I caught the biggest fish, so I was very happy about it. And as we were approaching off of the boat and onto the island, we saw our parents, and our dad was there, mom, and they were just standing there. And I remember I just was so happy, and I ran up to my dad, to tell him, what we did. And my mom, she just walked past me, like she just ignored me, pretending I wasn't there. So after that scene took place, it went to another scene. The next scene was my bedroom. My clothes was wet, so I was trying to get undressed so we can go ahead and prepare for dinner and cook the fish. And we typically did that as a family. And as I was taking my clothes off, my mom comes in the room, and then she closes the door. And when she closes the door, she looks at me and she's like, "He loves me more than he loves you." And I was afraid of her because I saw a look in her eyes that really scared me. It just was different. And as I'm taking my clothes off, I'm already half dressed because I'm wet. She then comes over to me, and I'm backing up a little bit because I was a little fearful for what she was trying to do to me. So then she took out, it was like this little pouch, and it had like this dust in it. She took it out, she blew it on me. And when she blew it on me, I fell on the bed because I felt like I was suffocating, and I started to suffocate. And then I could feel myself, my spirit, like leaving my body. And then I could see my mom, and I see her take my body, put it in like a sleeping position, and cover me up, and took the rest of my clothes and use it because it was wet, and she used it to clean up the dust off the floor, or so she thought she did. And she ended up pushing the remaining of my clothes underneath the bed. And as soon as she did that, my dad walks in the room, and he's like, "Come on, hurry up," telling us to come in there. And then he looks and see that I'm laying there, and he was like, I don't know what name he called me, but it sounded like Tashi or something. And he was like, and he spoke, patois, that's Jamaican language. And she was like, "Oh, she's sleeping. She was tired after all the fishing and just wanted to lay there." And then the next scene went into them being in the kitchen, they're preparing, and my mom was so happy. This was the happiest I've ever seen her look. And I'm watching it play out, and they're happy, they're preparing the meal, and I'm not there. But the family was happy without me. Well, she was. It was just different from our normal dynamic. It goes to the funeral scene. It skips to the funeral scene. I see everybody over me and all of this. And my mom, she's dressed in black. My father was distraught because he felt like he didn't protect me. Nobody knew how I died or what happened. It goes to the final scene where my dad goes to my room, and he's in my room, distraught, broken, and just crying on my bed. And he ended up like kneeling over, just like looking at the floor. And then he sees a piece of my clothing, and he Takes my clothing. By this time, it's dried, of course. But then he also sees like a red stain, which wasn't blood. It was like red stain in the wooden floor and also on my clothing. And he looks at it, peels it apart, and he can see that it appeared to be like specks, not blood stain. It was like specks, as if dust was blown on me. What I got from that is whatever my mom blew on me, when it settles and finalizes it, it stains anything red. He looks at it, he calls her in the room, and he looks at my mom and he's like, how could you do this? You killed her. You killed her. And when he yelled that, my brothers looked at her and then he told her to leave forever. And when she left, the scene goes to where my mother and my father were aged. I was a spirit. I'm by a tree by this cliff in Jamaica. Beautiful scenery. And I see this woman dressed in black walk up to this cliff and she takes her own life. And then I look off to like my left. I'm standing by the tree as a spirit. I look off to my left. I can see my father. He was an older man at this time and he was just so broken and he just walked off.
My first one was the best one for me. It was very vivid. And like I remember the year was like 800 or 84, 842. My name was Ashra. It was either Egypt or Greek or something like that. My skin was golden brown. I had a white dress, leather sandals, a lot of gold like on my arms and on my feet. My family was all around and I was doing something important. I don't know what I was doing, but it was something important and I was responsible for something important. And I felt like everybody was protecting me and kind of following me and taking care of, making sure nothing happens to me. But I don't know what I was doing. And I don't know if I said I was 22. Now, the next one, I guess my cousin is Shirley because I was 19 and it was 1944. And the same thing, I was smelling a lot of flowers and I was smelling flowers and herbs and I was doing something with those flowers and herbs. But for the second and third life, I just kept coming in and out, in and out. You would ask a question and I would answer the question. But for the first one, it was a straight movie, like clean, clear, full color, like perfect movie scenario. And then I think I was falling asleep and then you would ask a question and I would be like 19 and then you say something and I go, oh girl,